5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
It's October 17th, 2025, and the entertainment world has been shaken to its core. Just weeks after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, a storm has erupted across Hollywood. What began as a heartbreaking national moment has quickly turned into a battleground of opinions, mockery, and political agendas. From actors to musicians to late-night hosts, countless public figures have used this tragedy to score political points, turning grief into spectacle and leaving millions of fans wondering, has Hollywood completely lost its way? But amid the noise, a few voices are cutting through the chaos. Veteran stars like Tim Allen, Mel Gibson, James Woods, and Sylvester Stallone have stepped forward, calling out the hypocrisy and the opportunism that seem to be consuming the industry. And now, one of the biggest names in film, Tom Cruise, has joined them. Tom Cruise, a man known for his dedication to his craft and his relentless pursuit of excellence, is speaking out once again. He's not angry. He's not divisive. He's calling for something that Hollywood seems to have forgotten: civility. In a heartfelt statement, Cruise reminded his peers that filmmaking was never meant to be a political weapon. He said that when actors and directors drag politics into their work, they don't just risk controversy, they risk losing their audience. Movies are supposed to be a universal escape, a chance to connect people through story and emotion, not divide them through ideology. Cruise's words hit hard. He's urging Hollywood to return to its roots, to focus on storytelling, artistry, and the shared joy of cinema. He believes that when creators chase agendas instead of authenticity, they alienate the very fans who made their success possible. And he's not alone in that sentiment. The host of today's discussion points out that the problem runs deeper than a few outspoken actors. Studio executives, producers, and corporate leaders, names like Bob Iger, have allowed greed and politics to infiltrate the industry's creative soul. What once was about imagination and inspiration has become about influence and image. Yet there's a glimmer of hope. Actors like Tom Cruise, Tim Allen, and Mel Gibson represent a small but powerful movement, a return to honesty, to passion, to pure filmmaking. They're risking backlash to remind everyone that cinema should unite, not divide. And maybe, just maybe, their courage will spark a change. Because at the end of the day, we all want to sit in that dark theater, feel the lights dim, and lose ourselves in a story that makes us feel human again. If you believe Hollywood needs that reset, if you still love movies for the escape, not the agenda, hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and join the conversation below. Let's bring the art back to entertainment together. Hollywood, once the home of dreams, imagination, and pure storytelling, has found itself entangled in a web of politics and polarization. Over the past few years, we've watched as more and more celebrities have turned sensitive national events into platforms for political commentary. What was once an industry focused on creativity and unity now often feels like an arena for ideological battles. Fans are noticing. The audiences who used to escape into the magic of movies are growing tired, frustrated, and even alienated. They see their favorite actors using moments of tragedy or controversy to promote political messages instead of offering compassion, reflection, or simple entertainment. The integrity of the industry is slipping, and the very thing that once brought people together is now dividing them. But amidst the noise, one voice has dared to call for balance: Tom Cruise. Known for his relentless professionalism and devotion to the craft of filmmaking, Cruise has spoken out against the wave of politicization sweeping through Hollywood. He isn't pointing fingers or starting fights, he's urging reason. He's asking his peers to remember why they started acting, directing, or producing in the first place: to tell stories that move people, not to make political statements. Cruise's disappointment is palpable. He's watched as talented colleagues, people he once admired, have, in his words, lost their way. Instead of focusing on art, they're chasing influence. Instead of creating unity, they're feeding division. And in doing so, they're forgetting what made Hollywood powerful in the first place: its ability to connect with everyone, regardless of politics. The consequences are already visible. Fans are tuning out. Box office numbers have suffered. The trust between artists and audiences is breaking down. We've seen this cycle before. From the backlash Jane Fonda faced decades ago to the controversies surrounding Robert De Niro and Tom Hanks in recent years. Since 2016, entertainment has increasingly become a mirror of the country's political divide. What was once a sanctuary for imagination has become another battlefield in the culture war. But Tom Cruise and a small circle of like-minded actors believe there's still time to turn things around. They're calling for a rebirth, a return to creative purity and genuine storytelling. They want the industry to rediscover the art of escapism, that precious ability to let audiences forget the world for 2 hours and just feel. Their message isn't about silencing opinions. It's about refocusing priorities. Cruise's plea to the studios and executives is simple: step away from political propaganda. Stop treating movies as vehicles for messages and start treating them as journeys for the soul. Because when politics fades, art shines. When agendas fall away, imagination returns. And when filmmakers remember why they fell in love with movies in the first place, audiences will come back, not because they agree, but because they believe. If you're one of those people who still believes in the power of film to unite rather than divide, then don't just scroll away and hit that like button, share this message, and subscribe for more. Together, let's keep the conversation alive and fight for a Hollywood that inspires hearts, not headlines. The tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves through the nation. But in the aftermath, something unexpected happened. Instead of uniting in reflection or compassion, much of Hollywood turned the tragedy into a political spectacle. Within days, well-known celebrities were posting, commenting, and even mocking the event, using it to push their agendas or take jabs at opposing sides. What should have been a moment of collective mourning became another chapter in America's endless culture war. That's where commentator Mike Zero stepped in, calling out what he described as media exploitation at its worst. He painted a picture of an industry that once stood for artistry and storytelling, but is now too often driven by outrage, headlines, and clicks. His message resonated with fans who feel that Hollywood has lost touch with the audiences who made it powerful in the first place. But in the middle of all that noise, a counter-movement quietly began to grow. A handful of actors, Tim Allen, Mel Gibson, James Woods, Sylvester Stallone, and now Tom Cruise, started speaking out. They weren't shouting. They weren't dividing. They were urging the industry to take a breath, to step back from politics, to remember what acting and filmmaking are supposed to be about, creating something meaningful, something timeless, and among them, Tom Cruise's voice stood out. Known worldwide not only for his blockbuster films, but for his near-military discipline and professionalism, Cruise reminded his peers that art and politics should never be forced together. He called for neutrality, not because he's afraid to take a stand, but because he believes storytelling should rise above political noise. When you mix politics into film, he argued, you risk losing the audience that came to be moved, not preached to.